me. I'm back. And, if you follow me on TikTok, which you definitely should, in the description, I have made a career out of yelling about the Percy Jackson timeline and how it doesn't actually make sense. And I finally fixed it. So, I had originally planned to make a whole entire video explaining it, but I'm working on a few very large videos right now for this channel. So, I just decided that I'm just going to put all of the TikToks that I talked about it into this video so that you can all look at it and yell about it with me, and go along the journey of me figuring it out, because it did not make sense at all. And I explain why it makes sense, why it doesn't make sense, and what makes sense now with the conclusion that I made. And it'll include a couple other things, just basically all those ones that I've talked about, like, yeah, Rick's bad at timeline, but I figured the timeline out, because he did retcon it in a short, in a little extra, and that's the only thing that I had that retconned it. It was one short that fixed it. One short fixed it. So, here you go. Go back.
So it's been a while since I updated the timeline, but I figured it out. And it has to do with the Sword of Hades, because I realized that I had it not completely wrong. I there was a time skip. I was right. There's a year gap, but the Sword of Hades tells you. Rick already told us that there was a time skip. And it's after the Battle of the Labyrinth. So as I said before, it says that Bianca had died 2 years ago. So the only way for that to happen is if there's a time skip there. That it does not take place just after Labyrinth, in the December after Labyrinth. It takes place another December after Labyrinth. So about just before the Battle of what the fuck is the fifth book called? The fifth book. Just before the fifth book. So that's where the time skip is. I was right. I'm not stupid. There was a time skip. I just didn't know where it was. I figured it out. So to recap, we have 2009. Percy is 11. 2010. Percy is 12. 2011. Percy is 13. 2011 still, so Percy is still 13. Right? No, wait. Yeah, Percy is still 13. And then there's a year gap for 2012. So this book takes place in 2013, making Percy 15 for the majority and 16 at the end. And this also fixes Nico's age, with him being 10, 11, and 13, being 12 in the year gap. I'm not crazy. He said it. He said Bianca died 2 years ago, takes place before the final book, which means there's a year gap there. I'm not incorrect. I'm right. This is the only way that Nico's age makes sense. I've cracked the code. Here's the final reason why it is physically impossible for Percy to be 12 in book 1. And that again has to do with Nico's age. Basically, right now in canon, Percy is 17, and Nico is 15. Now, Nico's birthday is in January, and within the timeline, we're like nearing the summer-ish. I haven't finished Wrath of Apollo yet, so I don't know. And I didn't know when Sun in the Stars is taking place, or when Percy's book is taking place. But right now, we are not at Percy's birthday yet, meaning that Percy is about to turn 18, meaning that Percy is canonically 3 years older than Nico. Now, this would make absolutely no sense if he was 12 in book 1, because then he would be 14 in Titan's Curse, which means that he's 4 years older than Nico, which is... I'm gonna make another follow-up video on the Percy Jackson timeline because people keep saying, oh, Percy's 12, so he would have been 16 still. No, he's not! Percy is 11! Because in the year 1998, which is the year that Percy would have started kindergarten, school did not start till September, meaning that because Percy has an August birthday, he would not have been held back a year. Which means that there would be absolutely no fucking reason that 6th grade Percy would be 12. Because we never hear about him get held back a year. We know that he got, transferred to schools. We know that. But we've never heard that he got held back. He didn't get held back. He just got transferred from schools. Meaning that he is 11 in the first book. Because he's August, and so his birthday would not have passed yet by the end of 6th grade. And would not have passed until the end of the book. Meaning that he's not 12 until Sea of Monsters! Fucking do some math, bro. Which still means that Rick Riordan is wrong, and did make a mistake, and Percy is not 16 yet. He's not 16 by the end of that book. He's not 16 by the end of the series, and he did not turn 16 on that day. Case closed. So I was looking at House of Hades, and I realized that my copy has, bonus content in it. And so I looked in it, and I found that the Sword of Hades is in here. And I read it. And I'm really fucking confused. Because apparently Rick doesn't know anything about his own timeline. So it stated that this book takes place between book 4 and book 5. That makes sense. We're on this. For one, let's just note that, Talia calls Nico Bianca's little brother. That's a little rude. But also, not only that, but Percy says that Bianca died a couple of years ago. What? Because as the timeline stands, we know that first we have the Titan's Curse, and the Titan's Curse takes place winter, and it's basically explicitly stated because of Nico's age being 11 in book 4 instead of 10 because his birthday is in winter, and if a full year passed, then he would be 12. It's this next year, the very next year, only a few months later. So if this takes place between book 4 and book 5, then there's either a full year gap between those, or Rick is stupid, because this takes place 1 year after Titan's Curse. Bianca's been dead for 1 year. How did you mess this up this bad? I read this part and I thought that it took place after the whole Percy Jackson series. But no, the next page. Oh, Kronos. Oh my god. What? It's only been a year? It's only been a year. Also, why is Talia so mean to him? Ah. In short, Rick is still bad at timelines. And this doesn't make any sense. I discovered a new timeline error. So, with context that we find in House of Hades, because of the context that the World War ended, and then that was how when World War II ended, the whole prophecy thing happened, and so Nico and Bianca were put in to the Lotus Hotel to protect them so that they wouldn't have to go fight. But something that happens in House of Hades kind of messes stuff up. Basically, the World War ended 3 years early than in IRL. Because Nico has this memory of going to Venice in a weekend when he was 6. In 38! 38! I'm gonna do a quick follow-up video on the last video that I made, because, I just want to explain why I came to that conclusion because of Nico's age. That's because, we know that obviously Nico is 12 in this book, because it goes 10, 11, and 12. But he is stated in the Blood of Olympus to be 14, which matches up with the current timeline where Rick is saying that in Trials of Apollo, Nico is 15, because Trials of Apollo takes place a full year after, here's also after The Lost Hero, meaning that Nico's birthday is past, aka Nico is 15 now. But that also means that there is a year gap, because you can't just jump from 12 to 14 without a full year passing. So that's how I came to that conclusion. I would like everybody to tag their favorite, Percy Jackson creator, because I need them to blind react to this, because I have cracked the code. I have cracked the timeline. The stupid timeline. So the timeline has confused me for, years, because I realized a while ago that in between this book and this book, there's a year gap. And we know that because of Nico's age and his birthday. We know that there's a full year and a half. Not just half a year, a full year and a half. And that doesn't make any sense, considering the fact that Rick insists that Percy is not 18 yet in canon. But if that is correct and there is a year gap, then he's already 17 by Magnus Chase. But I have come to the realization that Rick is correct. Percy is not 18 yet, but that is because he's not 16. It lies! Yes, of course, we know that we have his birthday. It says that it's his 16th birthday at the end of this book, but it doesn't make any sense. The timeline does not add up. So let's just take a look at the full timeline. So this takes place, let's just say, 2005, because that was the year that it was released. So we have Percy is 11. So at the end of this book, after the book is over, he turns 12. That means that in this book, he starts out as 12. And so, at the end, he turns 13. And then we have this book, which should be the next year. So, because that's how everything has been led to work. And so he's 13 here, and afterwards he turns 14. Wrong! This is winter. It takes place in December, meaning that this is still 2006, meaning that Percy is 13 but will not turn 14 afterwards. This is confirmed in the next book when we realize that now Percy is 14. Now Percy is still 13 and going to turn 14 afterwards, and we know that the confusing part was that Nico aged between these, but that's because Nico's birthday is in January, and this takes place in December, and this takes place in the summer. So obviously, his birthday passed. That leads me to the final conclusion that this book takes place in 2008. That means that Percy is still 15 and not 16 yet. So the prophecy never actually got completed properly. And I think Rick realized that and was like, well, the timeline is messed up, I might as well just throw in that he's 16 already. But that doesn't match up with any of this stuff, so that he is canonly 15, and he should be 15. Timeline solved.
Welcome back. Again, socials in the description. I don't think my TikTok is linked. It's just at Creative Fresh. At Creative Fresh. Same with my Instagram. Same with my Instagram. I don't think it's linked in the description. It's probably not. Don't check. Just go look up my name. It's easier that way. And go follow the other things. Buy my book. Buy my book. I'll be getting the time to also buy my book. But if you like the video, then destroy that like button. And if you like me, then kill that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. And goodbye!